Hi, this is Bissonette with another episode of Tips and Tricks. And I had a former client ask me to explain a little bit of fitting the bosal and what I look at and some of the pieces I try to put together and see if we can help some of you guys out with that and be a little bit more confident with that fitting on the horse and understand kind of what I'm looking for in that, and hopefully that'll translate into a little bit of better riding. It's not too uncommon for people to get wear marks with riding bosals. They, depending on what they're made out of, depends on how aggressive they are, depending on their core, depends on how aggressive they are. And there's a lot of different circumstances at play. A lot of times too with these bosals, it kind of goes back to the age-old deal. If you buy a cheap one, um, you might have more problems with it. Where if you buy a better built one, you might be able to save your horse from getting sore in the face a little bit faster. So, prime example, I have a really good bosal that I got from a buddy, and what I'm looking at or thinking about when I run my hand through this, even though that it's all braided rawhide, they did a good job beveling the edges. They also tend to have more strands. So as you run your hand through it, it's fairly smooth. There's a little bit of a bite to it, but it's fairly smooth. The smoother that it is, again, the less likely it is to wear on a horse. Where this bosal, I ended up trading a long time ago just for fun, and you can see these strands are bigger, and if you run your hand through this, it's a lot sharper on your hand. So subsequently, this bosal is going to wear a lot more hide off a horse. If you have a really soft skinned horse, you can get some that are just made out of braided leather instead of the raw hide, and that might be a little softer yet. But depending on where they're at with their training, sometimes you want a little bite on it, and sometimes you don't. So there's a lot of that. Now, when it comes to fitting, we'll go ahead and get rid of these ones. When it comes to fitting these horses, we're gonna fit it underneath the chin, and I'll grab my horse and I'll kind of show you some of the right ways that I do it, some of the mistakes I do it, and then we'll get on and I'll show you how to kind of pack the bosal. This video is not intended for teaching you how to train with the bosal. I have other videos that explain that a little bit more. But as far as rubbing a horse, I'll explain quickly kind of one of the deals that I see a lot of riders do that can really contribute to uh, getting wear spots on a horse. So what I'm looking for when I'm setting this bosal up is I don't want a bunch of gap underneath the chin. I don't want it to where it's swinging past the bulge on the chin. But I also don't want it so tight that it's in contact, kind of like a uh, chin strap on a horse, where you want it loose to where um, it's not fully in contact all the time, but we don't want it so loose that we can't get contact on the chin with it, but we don't want it so tight that it's constantly there. So we're kind of looking for that same set. Now, another part of setting the bosal is kind of where we set it on the face. Depending on the horse, depending on the bosal, is all going to kind of depend on where we set that bosal. Um, personally, I don't want it riding right on the corner of the mouth. I want it at least set behind, but we'll explain some of that stuff too once we get the horse squared away here. So as far as adjusting it, the way that we adjust the bosal will depend on how many wraps we put on it. And sometimes you can add wraps at the bottom, sometimes you can add wraps at the top. It's a little personal preference. It depends on what size Makati I'm using, and all of those factors go into that as well. So we'll go ahead. We'll get this bosal tied up. I'll kind of explain that as I run through that process, some of the things that I do. I think there's probably 1,000 different ways to tie your Makati on, and you know, find the way that works for you and kind of stick with it and go from there. All right, here we go. So the way that I tie this, and again, there's a lot more instructional videos on this. Feel free to look them up, and they can explain it. If you like my knot, I can do another video where it's a little bit more close, but that's not necessarily the emphasis of this video. But I'm going to start out with the tail facing forward. You can leave a little gap there. You can set it in. I like to leave kind of about a rope's worth of gap in front. And again, this piece is going to go over the horse's ears like that. So we're going out towards the front of the horse's mouth. From there, I'm going to wrap in front a wrap. I'm going to come one more time. And this is where I'm going to pull it center for my reins. Each horse kind of measure just a little bit different. The more you ride the horse with the setup, the more you get to where you can kind of nail it right at the first deal. I kind of measure my rein from here. On a long horse, I might go all the way out to my 6 feet. On a shorter horse, I'm going to make that adjustment to make that work. Now, another thing that I really like to do is I'll hold it there for just a sec, and you can see we got a little bit of a twist in this rope. So I'm just going to twist this rope until that comes undone, so that Makati is laying perfectly straight, just like that. Once we have that, I'm then going to go one wrap. You have to have at least one full wrap. Now, when it comes to building it up to fit another horse, you can add more wraps. This horse, I know where he fits with the bosal, so I'm going to take one more wrap before I pull it through. So we have it set up there. We're going to go right through there. I like to go right out to where the reins are, myself personally. So we poke that through so that we're coming out right where the reins are. And I like to come center of my reins. Just right like that. Again, a lot of people will set theirs up differently. That's all personal preference. But that's kind of how I like to set mine up. All right, we'll bring him over. We'll get this put on him, and we'll see what that fit looks like on the horse. Okay, so when I'm looking at the horse's face, ideally I want to line this bosal so that it's kind of running right through in here. Okay, I don't want it pushing all the way into the corner of his mouth, but I don't necessarily want it way back here either. There's kind of a natural spot on that horse, and that's where they're going to be packing the bosal. Now, when we were talking about earlier, I don't want that bosal to be able to swing past this chin. Okay, we want it to hit it there and be able to stop, but we also want it to be able to make contact there as well. That's kind of some of what I'm looking at, some of my thoughts as I go to set it up. Can't remember exactly where I have this hanger set, if it's set for this horse or another horse that I have, but we'll take a look at that too. We might have to make a little adjustment, but that's part of what this video is about. Okay. Come all the way over with my rein first. Like always, I'm going to bring this horse just slightly past center. I'm going to pick that up, go far ear, near ear. Now, one thing that I do is I actually have this set here just a hair lighter than where I want it. The reason for that is I like using this little strap here to be able to come and pick this up, and we're going to take just a half hitch just so it pulls it out of that horse's eye. That also snugs that bosal up just a little bit so that it's right kind of where I want. Notice I got about a finger's there. It's right in that perfect spot. This block hits him right at the back of the chin. It's able to make contact right there. As far as this setup, that's exactly where I want to be with this bosal. Now, we're going to get on and ride, show you a little bit of that. And one of the things, tighten my cinch up here a little bit while I'm still talking on that deal before I crawl on. One of the things that I want to show on this riding part is essentially one of the things that you can do as a rider to kind of help be a little bit more nice with this horse. And essentially what we're going to do is we're wanting to get a set on our hand so that we're holding this bosal in place. I don't want this bosal banging that horse in the chin every step. So I want to kind of support it. That being said, this is where you go from being a basic trainer to, leveling up on your training, is you don't want it making contact here either. Okay, so you're going to have to try to find that spot so that you're supporting it off the horse's chin, but you're not telling them to go back either. Okay, so again, when we're riding, it will depend on the horse's headset and where they're at. But essentially, even when I'm just trail riding, I want my hand to still be down on that horse's neck. I want my hand to be down here on this horse's neck, but I don't want that bosal to wiggle every step that we're going. So we'll find that balance point with this guy. As we go around the round pin, we want to, again, kind of keep that hand right there, down on that neck, okay? But we don't want it just flopping as we're riding. So that's kind of that balance piece that we're really looking for. Now, you'll know when you engage it, okay? So we pick our hand up, same spot, okay? We're in that sweet spot, that horse responds, and we're able to work our bosal from there. You can see it a little bit more here. I'll pick up the trot. I'll do it kind of the wrong way, hopefully, and let you see what that looks like, and then we'll try to fix that up and do it the right way. So, wrong. I'm going to have this all the way down like this, and you should kind of see that bosal just kind of slapping that horse in the chin. And that horse isn't going to be perfectly happy there. That horse isn't balanced. Okay, as we're coming around here, you're watching that, and that bosal is probably doing a motion like that. Okay, try to clean that up just a little bit. I pick up my slack. I find that balance point. I don't want to engage, but I want to support that bosal so that it's not slapping the horse. And lo and behold, this horse's head's already kind of traveling down because it's a little sweeter and a little bit nicer on them. Okay, That's what we're looking for. We don't want that swinging back and forth and engaging every single time. That swing is another reason why a lot of people get that wear spot. You know, you think of it like a cord in the wind or whatever else. If it's swinging, it's rubbing each time that it's swinging. So if we can support it and take that swing out, you can get a lot less wear. That horse is going to be more comfortable on the chin. They're going to want to go to that correct spot, and they're going to be happier. You're going to get a lot more life out of them riding wise, and you're going to get a lot less wear spots on the horse. So again, that's Carl Bissonette, tips and tricks. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.